G'day guys, Dom here. So I think it's time for a bit of an updated shop tour video. I've had a lot of guys asking me in the comments on Facebook and Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And I figured since I just cleaned the workshop up, not that you can tell looking over here, but everything else is kind of clean. I'd, just go around with a camera and talk about some stuff. It's been a little less than a year, but it's evolved in the last few months. So a whole bunch of new toys, all that sort of good shit. Anyway, so I think the last time I started off here, so we'll start off here again. Arbor press, granite surface plate, vise, thing full of sandpaper, whiteboard of optimism, and I've actually got a couple sketches up here, but I had to flip them around because there's customers' details and names and that sort of stuff on there, so can't really publish that out on the internet. This is a whole bunch of stuff. I like to think of it as organized chaos. Other people might just think of it as chaos. It's just a whole bunch of shit here that just kind of wanders around. It's not good. This is something I've got to work on. I don't think I had this in the last video. I think being organized, a whole bunch of cool stuff in here like pivots for folders, laps, reamers, all that sort of stuff. Just kind of hangs out here. Materials generally get stored here. So yeah, besides that, we've also started adding some decoration up here. So these are just some water jet cut blanks. So yeah, this is basically the offcuts when I get some stuff cut. Like for instance here, this is actually offcuts from my 10V surgeons. So that's actually quite a lot of money in waste material right there. I might figure out something to do with it. I might just cut the top off and make a really thin knife. Not sure, but I just kind of like having it around. It's nice bit of shop decoration. And it's kind of a bit of history for DB Blades. I mean, that right there is there's one over there and there's another one in the corner. That's the first time I've ever got anything cut for line locks. So there's a whole bunch of line lock blanks hanging around that are eventually going to get turned into knives. Over here we've got the Wilmot little buddy without a wheel on it. There it is. Let's see if I can do this one-handed without breaking anything. There we go. So that was my original grinder. I had that, been using this for years, and it's a great grinder. It's fucking fast. I've reworked the VFD a little bit, or I've just changed the program in the VFD a bit, so this thing goes crazy fast. So this is basically my backup grinder slash my I need to get shit ground right now grinder. It's insane. It can be flipped over sideways. I don't really do it anymore because I have this bad boy. This here is the Wilmot Tag 101. I honestly can't think of a better machine than this. It's a big boy grinder. It does a lot of work for me. I logged probably days, just solid days and days and days. It's never let me down. And I've added some aftermarket stickers on there because it's funny. But yeah, this thing is solid. I've got most of the attachments for it, like this thing, which I can stick in there, and I've got like a little small wheel on there, as well as hollow grinding wheels and that sort of stuff. And this thing flips on its side. If you've seen any of my build videos, you've seen me using this pretty much, except for the really early ones. VFD, there's no belt on there yet, but yeah, awesome bit of kit. I think one of the wheels might be going because it's starting to get pretty damn loud, but yeah, that's a pretty easy fix. Just knock out the bearing and put a new one in. Over here, another new toy, and something I both love and hate. This is a disc grinder with a variable speed hooked up. It's sharing the VFD from the little buddy over here, so I can actually control how fast this thing goes. And it's actually, this one, both these two grinders can be hooked up to fast as fuck. So that's 75 hertz right there. So this thing, 80 hertz right there. And that's going to take quite a while to go down. Sounds like a bloody turbine. Come on, you fuck. You can like feel the air flying off it. It's going so fast. But yeah, this is great for getting things flat, fixing up flat grinds. I do a little bit of sharpening on there. It's just a cool little tool to have. It's very handy. I actually like to get a second one and hook it up right next to it, because there's still another spot on my switch here. So I reckon it'd be cool to have two next to each other. It means I don't have to change grits as much. And I might get the second one beveled. I've got to check. We'll see. They're not that expensive, so it's not too ridiculous. What else? Oh yeah, more water jet cut blanks and this big ass lamp up here. I kind of screwed myself buying this because I way overpaid. You can basically get the same thing from IKEA for about a fifth of the price, but yeah. Oh well, it's a good lamp. It does everything I need it to do. It's just a little bit expensive, and I need to get probably some IKEA lamps and light this whole area up. I'd also like to get a dust extraction system and see if I could fit it in right there, so I can keep all this dust in one area and hopefully out of my lungs. Hopefully. Oh yeah, and that's respirator. You've probably seen the bottom of it in plenty of videos. What else? Oh yeah, down here, angle grinder. Trusty tool. If you know angle grinders, you know the brand, but I'm not going to say it because they're dicks. But yeah, trusty tool. It's been fixed with tape a couple of times. It's sort of on the way out, but not quite. I have to bang it around every now and then to get it to start. It's cut a lot of titanium, a lot of steel. Almost everything used to get cut on this thing, and I still pull it out all the time because it cuts really damn fast. It's not safe. I've started a few fires on other things like tables and stuff, and also on me. So it does like to set things on fire every now and then, but it's quick, it's reliable. I like having an angle grinder around. It's very handy for knife making. Over here, another new addition. This is a bench. I got this off Super Cheap Auto, real cheap. I had like a coupon as well, so I paid almost nothing for this thing. And it's just good to have a sort of an area here where you can dump stuff while you're grinding. Like you can see here, I've got a bunch of pens I'm working on. I've also got a bunch of blades that need to be ground tonight, so I can I've got an area to lay stuff down, which is good. It's also a really handy place to hold all these contact wheels and stuff, so I can just grab one, whack it in, keep grinding. It's all nice and convenient. It also gathers a crap load of dust, as you can probably see. Then what I'm thinking is, if I can get a grinder real cheap, I might put a horizontal grinder in here, or just flip a grinder horizontally, just to have a dedicated horizontal on this. Over here, we have my trusty Anvil-ish. It's a bit of a railway spike that I had a guy on Facebook make up for me. It was real cheap. I did have to do a bit of work on it, because he's just, angle grinding the shit out of these things. So I did have to put this on the mill to get it nice and flat with a fly cutter. But since I've done that, this is awesome to have. It's great for center punching. Nice big area you can lay stuff flat on. Give it a good whack. Also, I've done a very light amount of lapping on this from time to time just to knock off an edge or something. And I've also done a bit of texturing with this because it's a nice flat area. You can get your hammer, you can do a bit of whacking. It's good. Just having a big metal that's flat is just really handy to have around the workshop. I don't forge anything, but it's definitely useful to have. Down here we have the fun stuff, or at least for me. So we've got stainless steel, titanium. This is where I keep most of the steel, as well as my sometimes used jigs. This is a jig for my friction folders, the large ones. Don't really use that a whole lot, but I have it in case I need to, or in case I'm training somebody or something. A2, and back here is the really cool stuff. So that's a big sheet of ADC something high carbon steel, and at some point this is going to get turned into tomahawks. I just need to design tomahawks for it. So that's happening. There used to be a lot more steel here, but I dropped off many kilograms of steel at Waterjet a couple days ago, so most of it's gone. I'm running a little low, but we'll get this filled up again. And there's a bunch of like random blanks and stuff. That's over here. We have a bit of Damascus. My buddy hyphen forge, hyphen knives made for me. I've got to turn this into a folder or something. It's just begging for it. Just yeah, a little bit of a wuss because this is some really nice Damascus, and I have very bad history with folding knives out of Damascus. Doesn't go so well. Over here we have the best thing I've ever put into this workshop. Life is so much better when you can put a bloody speaker in here and you've got the radio going. It's great to have. I do headphone it up quite a bit, but for when you're just, you know, doing screws or drilling some stuff, it's nice to have some music going. Over here we have one of the second best investment I've had in this workshop, besides the belt grinder, is 2 dedicated blasting cabinets. These are just gorgeous. If you go back to the first video, I think like 20% of it was just dedicated to bitching about my sandblast cabinet, because it was this tiny little thing. It was a piece of shit. It leaked everywhere. It probably took like 2 years off my life. And I replaced it with these things. Now these things are also pieces of shit, but they're pieces of shit that I've sealed up really nicely. They don't leak at all, or a little bit at the bottom, but not much. And I have them dedicated for each grit. So you've got garnet over here and you've got bead blast over here. So it's all, it's nicely contained. Shop vac, all that sort of stuff, heat gun. But yeah, it's a nice little setup right here. It's made my process a lot quicker, a lot more pleasant. Yeah, definitely very glad to do it. It was expensive, it was a lot of time, and putting this together, yeah, it wasn't pleasant. I yelled a lot. But it's done, and they're awesome, essentially. Coming back around here, we have a CNC operated table. That's essentially what it is right now. I do a bit of manual work with this, with like an Xbox controller and stuff. But that's about it. My CNC skills are mediocre. So you haven't really had any CNC parts. But it's going to happen, eventually. Because we'll figure it out. Oh yeah, and over here we have trusty apron and some project that I'm only very briefly showing you. What else? Over here we have this thing. Just a nice little handy table I can move around when I need to. Like if I'm doing friction folders or something, I can pull this out into the center of the shop and have a nice little extra table full of parts. Over here we have another bench. This is also new. Yeah, real cheap online. And this is was actually the first grinder I ever had. This was originally a linisher, and I made my very first knives on this. You know, besides the file ones that I hand filed. It's still going. It's creaky as fuck. It's it earned that name. Well, it didn't kill anybody, but it scared me. This is like a Scotch-Brite wheel here, and this is a sharpening wheel. And the sharpening wheel is probably the most dangerous thing I own. Reason being is if you're sharpening something, and I'm actually carrying a production knife on me, which is unfortunate, but if you're sharpening something and you snag a tip on this thing, it'll fire it straight down into the table very, very fast. And at that point, you've got a very sharp knife, so it's not good. Yeah, you might yell out very loudly in shock. It's very fast, it's very good, but fuck is it scary. Besides that, we have a decorative drill doctor, which I almost never use. I'm probably going to sell that at some point eventually, because it works, I just don't like it. Over here we have another new toy. This is a lathe. I don't really use it a whole lot. It's still getting kind of fixed up. This table here is it's not so crash hot, so I am fixing that up very slowly. This has to be fixed and modified, and there's a bolt in there that has to be fixed. But for right now, it just works. This part here works. So for like cutting down screws, I've got this chipped up Anvil, and I just use that to cut screws and stuff. Works well enough. It was real cheap on eBay, so I'm not going to complain. But yeah, that'd be good to have, you know, for standoffs and stuff and random stuff. We have a drill press, the first drill press I ever bought, still kicking. It's really it's a piece of shit. But for tapping and for like really rough holes, it works, I guess. I actually use it quite a bit for like really small holes where I'm just drilling really fast, and non-accurate holes, it kind of works well for that. Over here we have a big bench, a big cabinet of stuff. This is cool. I got this the other day. That's for bending pocket clips. And blanks, all that sort of stuff just hangs out in here. So we have this beastie, which I've been meaning to finish for months. A whole bunch of cool stuff just lives out in here. It's one of my favorite drawers. In here we have a whole bunch of jeweling stuff, which doesn't open all the way, but I'll pretend that you saw the inside of it. Burny things and jewelry stuff and silver in there, which almost never gets used. Down here we got stuff for the lathe. This is a bunch of folder parts that I got water jet cut. So that's going to come up next year, hopefully. I would love to do a batch of line locks. I'm not taking orders for them. I just don't want to. I'd like to just have fun and do what I want with these. So, but yeah, just a bunch of friction folders in the works. The blades on these are ridiculous. They're about 5mm thick, 154 cm, and yeah, they're going to be a little thinner after surface grinding and getting them flat and everything. But yeah, it's going to be pretty badass. I'd love to get my hands on that and just start fucking with these, but got a lot of stuff to do. Got a whole bunch of fixed blades I've got to do first, and I got a bunch of extra folder blades, but no handles. So I might just do a bunch with G10 and have like a G10 handled version. We'll see, because I still have plenty of sheaths of these made up. So as long as I can get handles done, get a bunch of these out of the door with just G10 or something. What else? Bunch of aluminium down here, just random storage. Another new tool, we have a bandsaw. I quite like this. I almost never use it for steel, but for like G10 and stuff, it is so nice. Like pretty much all my G10, all my Mikado, all my Kydex gets cut on this. It's very low in dust, it's quick, it's clean. The G10 does fuck up the bandsaw blades, but it's alright. As long as I only cut G10 on it, it's not too bad, because G10's kind of easy to cut. If I try and cut steel and G10 on it, that's where it becomes an issue, because this thing takes forever to cut steel. But for everything else, it's great, and to be perfectly honest, most of the time I'm just using water jet cut blank, so it's not a huge deal if it doesn't cut steel, because I don't really need to cut steel. And that's eventually going to be turned into a table for this thing. I just procrastinate too much. Drill press, talked about this in the last video, still works. These things are just totally stretched out and not fitting in there at all, so has to be fixed, but that's easy enough to do. Over here we've got the etching station, a bunch of Kydex and titanium hangs out in there. The buffer of death, well, it hasn't killed me yet, but it's super janky. I use it for just random stuff, like maybe buffing a spine or something, or buffing handles. I tend to avoid anything mirror polished because it's not a great finish for, you know, wearing and working with, kind of prone to scratches and stuff, so I typically avoid it, but it's a good option there, and for handle materials and stuff, it's great. Down here we've got the heat treat oven, which I don't use a whole lot. Mainly just use it for videos and stuff because it looks impressive on camera. And yeah, that's just about it. I've been talking for 20 minutes, holy shit. So yeah, that's the shop, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick little, well, I'd like to say quick, but I have been talking for 20 minutes, so ramble, madness, yeah, descent into madness, we'll call it that. So yeah, this is where I kind of live, guys. I spend more time here than anywhere else, and I couldn't be happier. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I guess I'll see you on the next video.